All right, sometimes when we're working with transversals, there's going to be multiple, more than just our 3 lines, and we're going to have to think about where our transversal is. So I have here a picture that has 4 different lines drawn, and I'm going to use eraser, pencil eraser tops, to identify certain angles so that we can figure out if there is a transversal that connects them, and then if there's a relationship between the 2 angles. Okay, so for example, if I were to place one of my angles here, and I were to place my other angle here, I can see those 2 are both at this same vertex, and they're across from each other, so those are vertical angles. They do have a relationship, they are vertical angles. Okay, if I just move this one right on the other side of the line, then they are still at the same vertex, but now they're next to each other, they're adjacent. These are a linear pair. Okay, if I were to take one of my erasers and move it down here, then they're no longer at the same intersection. I have one at this top intersection and one at this bottom intersection. So now I want to see, is there a transversal that connects them? Think about if you were in your car and you were driving from this building to this building, what street would you drive along, right? You would drive along this street. That becomes the transversal. And then these other 2 lines are what we use to see if they're interior or exterior. And we don't care about this line over here at all. So I can see these 2 are in between the 2 yellow pencils, so they're interior. They're on different sides of the maroon pencil, so they're alternate interior angles. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say I move this one out over here, and then I put this one, I just slide it down here. Okay, so now if I was going to drive from one angle to the other, I would have to drive along this street. So that becomes my transversal. And then these 2 are the intersecting lines. So the top line I don't care about at all. Okay, so now if I'm looking at these 2, I can see one is above the transversal, one's below the transversal, and they're outside the yellow pencils. So these are alternate exterior. Okay, all right, let's look at another one. Let's say I move this angle up here and I move this angle out here. Okay, it's real tempting to say that they're alternate exterior because that one's clearly an exterior angle, this one's clearly an exterior angle. They're not on the same side of anything. But there is no line I can use this pencil, my transversal pencil, on that will connect the 2 angles without having to draw a new line, right? So if I leave this street, if I'm trying to get from this angle to this one, if I leave this street, I'm going to have to get on another street. There's not one street that takes me there. Okay? Same thing, if I leave this way, I'm going to still have to take another street to get there. So there, in this case, there is no transversal that connects, one line that connects this angle to this angle. Those 2 angles have no relationship with each other. There's no relationship between this angle and this angle. Okay? Let's look at another one. Let's say I put this one, let's go here. And then I put this one, let's go up here. Okay? So let's figure out which one's our transversal. The transversal is the one, if I want to get from this angle to this angle, which street would I have to drive on? I would have to drive on this street. So that becomes my transversal. I do have a transversal. Then these are my 2 intersected lines. Okay, so I can see that my 2 angles are on different sides of that transversal. One's above it, one's below it. And they're outside the 2 intersected lines. So they're alternate exterior. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say I'm looking at, we'll keep that one right there where it was, and then we'll come right down over here. Okay, so to get from this eraser to this eraser, I'd have to drive down this street. So that makes that one my transversal. And then the 2 lines that are being intersected are here and here. Okay, so now when I look, I can see these 2 are on the same side of my pencil, my maroon pencil of my transversal. They're both to the right, and they're inside my 2 yellow pencils. So they're same side interior. Remember, sometimes we call that consecutive interior. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say I bring this one over here, and then I'm going to put this one right here. Okay, so these two, they're at the exact same intersection, which means I don't have to get in my car and drive at all, right? They're at the same spot. So that means we have to think they're either vertical or they're a linear pair. So are they across from each other or next to each other? These are next to each other, so they're a linear pair. If I moved here, then they would be vertical, okay? Or if I left this one here, I could move over here, and those would be vertical, okay? Let's look at another one. Let's say I take this eraser and I move it here, and then I take this one and I move it here, okay? So the street I have to drive upon to get from this angle to this angle, because they are at different intersections, is going to be this one. So I do have a transversal. They are not on alternate sides. Notice they're both on the same side of that one. And so they could be same side interior, but let's see where our other 2 lines are. So they are on the same side of my maroon transversal. They're both to the left, but they're not same side interior because this angle up here is on the outside of my 2 lines. This one's interior, but this one's not. Okay, so they can't be same side interior, so they have to be something else. Notice they're both up and to the left of the intersection. So they're in the same corresponding position, right? So we call these corresponding angles. Okay, let's try another set of angles. Let's say I went here and here. Okay, so again, the street I have to drive on to get from this intersection to this intersection, notice what I had to highlight was here. And then my other 2 lines are here and here. So now I can see that my angles, they're both above my transversal, so they're on the same side of the transversal, but they're not same side or consecutive interior because one of them is outside, the other is inside, right? So these are, again, just like the very last one I just did, those are also corresponding. Okay, let's do like 2 or 3 more. Let's say I go here and here. Okay, so when I look at those, it kind of looks like they're corresponding, right? Because they're both up and to the left of their intersection. But let's find our transversal. Okay, so at this intersection, well, that's not going to work because that doesn't get me over here. So maybe I could put it here, but that doesn't work because that doesn't get me over here. If I put it here, nope, that doesn't work because it doesn't come over here. And if I put it here, I still don't get over there. So there's no one single line that connects this intersection to this intersection without building a new street, right? I can't build a new street. So these 2 angles have no relation. Okay? All right, let's try another one. Let's do here and I think we already did that. Let's go here. Okay? All right, so those 2, I don't have to drive at all. They're both at this intersection, right? So I don't have to go anywhere. So those 2 angles, they are either linear pairs or they're vertical. So are they next to each other or across from each other? Those 2 are next to each other. So those are a linear pair. Together they add up to 180 degrees. Okay? All right, let's do one more. What if I go here and here? Okay? So the street that connects them, I do have a street that connects them right here. Okay? And then my other 2 lines are going to be here and here. All right, so I can tell that my 2 angles are on alternate sides of the maroon transversal. So they're alternate. Now I just have to decide, are they interior or exterior? So if these are my 2 lines, I can see they are interior. I have to go inside the lines to get to those angles. So these are alternate interior angles. Okay, I hope this little activity helped you, especially when you have extra lines, figure out where your transversal is. Okay, and then figure out what your other 2 lines are if you have them, right? Because remember, sometimes we don't have them. When we have vertical angles, we don't have a transversal. When we have adjacent angles, we don't have a transversal. And when we have angles where there's no single line that connects the two vertices, then those have no relation at all, and there's no transversal. Okay? All right, so hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask during sync time or attend tutoring. Thank you so much for watching.